Welcome to Freedom of Speechless. We are back and really excited about our topic today. It is going to be a little bit more mainstream of what we're seeing in present day news and also what we spoke about the last 2 weeks. So that was just a God thing in itself. It excites us because that's just an area that we have had in a 5-year plan to go into, and that biomedical, also what Angela is going to be studying in college. And so having the support of RFK and some of the things that we know will help the body has just been incredible for us. So I am going to really interview you as a parent today.
Okay.
Because I want to hear from a parent. I know there's a lot of controversial, talk about what was said, how it was said, that kind of thing. And I want to address it from our point of view because I feel like we can bring a little bit of light to the subject to make it a little lighter and some understanding from an educated mom, because you have spent years educating yourself on how to not just bring new therapies and, get into the educational system. And I mean, you have gone to it with every single area. And this is one of them. So let's talk a little bit about that. First of all, RFK, he is the U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services right now. Just for people that, need that update. He came out, did a speech talking about different toxins and different things in the environment. There is some controversial with that, saying that we cannot prevent autism. And I feel that we need to change that paradigm.
Before we jump in.
Yep, go for it.
I'm Melody Rivora. I am the president of Angelo's Angels for Communication Foundation, and you can find us at angelosangels.com.
And I'm Katie Custer. I am the owner of Mind Over Body in Aurora, Ohio, also a practitioner for Spelling to Communicate. And you can find us on mobstrong.com. All right. And then we're going to just jump in with a little bit of an exercise. I like to take everybody into a place where we are, right? So, we're going to close our eyes or do our little thing here where we see a very brilliant, not intellectually disabled, not is somebody that can't work, but is also called autistic. And I want us to visualize what that looks like right now. What does it look like to see an autistic person, individual, that is brilliant, that is intellectually intact? What does that look like? Okay, we're going to open our eyes, and I would like to just give a little bit of a demonstration as what I see when I see that, okay? So I close my eyes. I see a very intellectual, brilliant, autistic person. Okay. Sorry, did it?
Right.
Had to do it.
Right.
Had to do it. Because I am done with everybody having this stigma that this brilliant,
intelligent individual
lives within an autistic body that can function.
Right. A lot of the examples that we have, I guess I could say, in our culture right now is on Netflix, there's Love on the Spectrum.
Okay.
They're speaking highly functioning autistic individuals in that docuseries. There's a TV show right now called The Good Doctor. He is a speaking, highly intelligent young man, almost like the age of Doogie Howser, not quite that young. But also he portrays a character who is a speaking autistic. So I think when people are saying, oh my gosh, look at all these great things that these autistic individuals are doing, they're envisioning that autistic person.
Right.
And for so many of our families and like mine, that's not what I'm living.
Right. However, let me just attach this to what is still reality to you.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Your son still is going to be the doctor.
Yes. And that's what I was going to say.
Okay.
And that's what I was going to say.
Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. I had to.
That's okay. So when people see Angelo, they automatically think that there is an intellectual delay attached to him.
Yes.
Because he does stim like Katie exhibited. He does have a lot of echolalic stims. He does flap his hands once in a while. He does jump up and down. So for face value, when you're looking at his body, you're immediately thinking that, oh, well, he probably struggles cognitively.
Right.
And so that's not the truth. And that's what we want to set the record straight, I think, today is that all autistic individuals, and I think that the message we've have been trying to send is all non-speaking individuals, not even just autistics, are not intellectually delayed. They're not intellectually impaired. There's a motor impairment impairing their speech. And I think that's what we're going to get into now is kind of that.
So,
piece.
Is this really what RFK said about our kids?
Yes. Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Because I just want to address this now coming from a practitioner standpoint, somebody that works with multiple profiles, that understands that we are presuming competence all the time because I, speak to these kids on the letterboard and know that they're in there and see the studies that they're doing. And it's pretty incredible. So I know that. But in order to get people's attention away from when we say brilliant mind, brilliant autistic, functioning autistic individual, that we are not going to the picture that most of us saw in our head, which is this
good doctor,
you too, right? Yeah, like this absolutely ideology of what we are really dealing with, and so we can't bypass what we're really dealing with here, because we hear a language or a word that might have offended us, but it got everybody's attention.
That's it.
Because unfortunately, we know as families and people in this volume to communicate world and community that we have very intellectually intelligent children and individuals, right? Guess what? RFK knows that too. How do we know he knows that? Because he funded the book Underestimated. Yeah. That is a huge, huge opening.
Yeah. Well, he endorsed it. He endorsed the book.
Endorsed it, I'm sorry. Yeah. So a huge, huge opening to the paradigm shift that they are cognitively there,
right?
That there is competence in there and that they are not intellectually, developmentally behind.
Right.
So for him to have said those words on national TV, maybe it was to get people's attention.
Yeah. Or he misspoke or whatever.
Whatever.
It might have been.
But this is a brilliant man.
Right.
A brilliant man. And so when he is bringing up these words, I think what we don't understand is, unfortunately, that's how most of the world thinks.
Well, that's a societal stigma.
Right.
So to shake that, that's an entirely different conversation.
Right.
We're talking about the health and well-being of individuals who are being impacted.
Thank you.
In life because they are so chronically ill.
So as a parent, what would you like? You just kind of said it. Like, we're so focused on the words that were said.
Yeah.
The things that we think are being taken away.
Right.
Even though these people are brilliant. But what was your takeaway as a mom?
Right. I mean, when I saw it, I've been following it since it happened. I actually sat back a lot. If anybody knows me personally, I'm a reactor, like right away. And this time I didn't. I just sat back. I'm like, let me just see where everybody's at, what they're saying, what they're thinking, because I could automatically come in, watch it, and tell you what I'm thinking. But I wanted to see what other people were saying and whether they're directly affected by autism or not. I just wanted to see that. And after kind of standing back and seeing kind of what the whole issue really came down to was the fact that RFK mentioned intellectual delay and the children, that these individuals are medically damaged and it's damaging families. Okay. So those phrases, those words are what everybody focused on.
Right.
And instead of focusing on the body of the speech and the fact that a very forgotten demographic of people have now been addressed. Okay. There's awareness out there now. He's putting it on the table that there is a lot of things going on with these individuals and these autistic individuals, and they can't be forgotten and we have to do something about it. Okay. If we are looking at, I've heard the term, the way he spoke about them dehumanizes them. I guess I can understand where you're coming from if you're saying that you're only looking at these individuals as a burden, as an illness. And I don't think that's what RFK was saying.
No.
He wasn't saying these burdensome individuals who are so sick they ruin families. That's not what he was saying. What he was saying is that when autism hits your home, and your child isn't going to be playing baseball. They're not going to be going to soccer practice. They're going to be going to ABA. They're going to be going to speech therapy. They're going to be going to OT. They're going to be going to PT. They're going to have a lot of in-home services, out-of-home services, whatever that might look like. Life is different now.
Right.
Okay, that's the first thing.
Yeah.
Secondly is when you're looking at individuals who now, it's not just autism, right? It's not just my child's not speaking, they're stimming, their sensory issues. It's away from that. It's not just that, but they have seizures. They have a heart defect.
Right.
They have cyclic vomiting. They have autistic catatonia. And you can look all this up. Okay. Now your home is disrupted on another level.
Yeah.
I have a very close friend of mine who spent a year on and off in the hospital because her son developed autistic catatonia. Eventually needed a feeding tube. Okay. I have another girlfriend who her son developed epilepsy to the point they couldn't leave the house. He was having them so frequently. And then they went through some biomedical route and he was okay. That's what RFK is talking about. It disrupts your home. They're living. Do you want to live in a hospital and not be able to enjoy your home and your children?
No.
That's not a dream come true.
No.
That's not saying
hold on too. Let's stop there for a second because I want to bring up something that's kind of really relevant to everything here. This person that you're talking about has 2 autistic children. One that as a child was exposed to toxins through the medical system. One that at that point, the mother decided not to expose the child through the medical system to those toxins.
Right.
The one that has been exposed to those toxins, and this is something that, RFK did say, that it's about toxin exposure to a fragile body. So the fragile body may be there, right? But can we prevent going the extra mile to live in a hospital with catatonia?
Right.
Because the other child also is non-speaking autistic, but is thriving medically.
Yeah. So, and has also gained quite a lot of speech the last few years.
Okay. So we're seeing degression in one and progression in the other. And I believe that was the main point.
100%.
That he was trying to pull together. He wasn't trying to diss somebody for doing something that maybe they did to their child through the medical. We all have questions about stuff like that and what toxins are in even foods and different medications and different things like that. And yes, absolutely. There is somebody out there making money off of that.
Yeah.
That wants to not allow freedom of the speech list.
Right.
All right. So because of that, the people that do want freedom of the speech list, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share us.
That's it.
Get us out there, guys. Put comments in there. Put your stories up, you know. Let's build a platform for bringing health and hope to, going further in life. And getting as much success as they can in already fragile body.
Right. And I am logging Angelo and myself, our diet change. We talked about anti-inflammatory disorders and whatnot. And so if you go to Angelo's Angels for Communication on Facebook, you'll see kind of the progression of what we're doing and steps that we're taking. I'm not a medical professional. I don't claim to be an expert medically, but I am definitely taking steps from experts that I followed to be able to implement that in my home and with my child,
Yeah. Awesome.
And I think that is everybody at the end of the day has to do what they feel is right for them and their child.
Totally.
And I'm just here to say that I know that there were things that I exposed my son to that developed physical issues in him. He's not chronically sick. he does have inflammatory issues.
Yeah.
And, it does impede his life.
Yeah. And what did he say? Did you think I was going to ask, or did you forget?
Yeah.
What is it that he said? RFK mentioned the age of 2. We don't necessarily need to get into complete details, but I think everybody will know what we're throwing down here. What did Angelo specifically say when he was able to communicate with you fluently on a letterboard, which is all 26 letters, so we get a full communication?
Yeah.
What was he able to tell you about when he felt his speech leaving his body?
Yeah. After multiple...
And how old was he?
Okay. Yeah.
Start. Yeah.
Okay. So he said after multiple exposures to different environmental factors, things, that he started to feel a physiological breakdown in his body. Yeah. And then eventually it was like somebody was slowly pulling his speech from him. And then it was gripping him with fear. That he was kind of stuck inside of his self. And he was about 3.5, 4 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, RFK did mention that this is something that through toxin delivery to our children, it's been proven. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy that we're looking at studies from 10 years ago when they just came out with a study the other day. Yeah. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we fighting for? Are we fighting for sick children? Right. Or can we listen to new discoveries? And, they say that doctors have brought new discoveries and new diagnosis and so on and so forth. But does that mean that all the doctors prior were not intellectually there either? Right. Because I don't believe that. No. I believe we've had very smart doctors for a very long time that have brought a lot of light to this subject. And yes, of course, we're going to get new discoveries with new machines and new technology and new things like that. Right. But it's crazy to say that we have had a 300% increase in the last decade. Right. And not call it an epidemic. And one thing he said was that epidemics don't happen with DNA. They happen with environmental exposure to a fragile DNA system. And that can happen over time. Yeah. I want to kind of bring that up too, because people are going to kind of say that as well. Oh, it's just, how about like 30 years ago when we started to actually implement, I don't want to say 30 years ago because I don't know exactly the date on that, but when we started to implement these poisons at a young age to our body, then we had our own children. We pass DNA to our children that lives in our children forever as a mother. Maternal. Right. So we get poisoned or toxined, whatever we want to call it. Our body does not take something in. Like we got poison ivy on the inside.
Well, mercury, aluminum. I mean, if you had a silver filling, even if you got it removed, there's mercury in your body. But go on. Yeah. Literally. So you get a silver filling, you got mercury in your body. They found out finally that silver fillings aren't good. Now you got that out. You got a new filling. Go. Okay.
And I got mercury still in my body.
You get pregnant.
We're done. We got a baby in there. We got all this stuff.
The mercury gets passed to the baby.
I mean,
in utero.
Yeah. That one comes out okay. We got a little ADHD. And by the way, you can see these things progress. Yeah. Got a little ADHD, a little ADD. That's a new thing out there now. Blah, 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 blah. Right? Okay. Now the next ADHD woman has a new baby. She gets all the toxins too. Yeah. They get all the toxins too. Yeah. Now we got a new generational. This is through, it's not DNA still. Yeah. See, we're talking about generational passing of bloodline, right? But it's the toxin
flipping genes on and off.
That makes our bodies fragile, that we pass on to our children. And now our children have a fragile body and it goes on and on and on. When does this stop? Yeah. When does this stop? The numbers are insane. What do we got? Tell me some numbers.
You want me to give it to you?
Yeah. I want an educated mother to give me some numbers that you have brought yourself to the conclusion that this is something that, could be at least helped.
Right. Well, we'll just start with RFK gave the 25% of autistic individuals are non-speaking and medically fragile. Okay. 25%. Okay. With that being said, In the 1980s, it was 1 in 1,000 had autism. In the early 2000s, it was 1 in 150. Fast forwarding to between 2016 and 2025 was 1 in 36. Now they're saying it's like 1 in 31, something like that. And we got to figure out what the contributing factor is. And I'm going to just come out and say, I do not believe it is that we have better healthcare professionals that are diagnosing. I'm going to say that we are being exposed to more and more toxins. The foods we eat are filled with poison.
Right.
Okay. Mold exposure causes neurotoxins. Okay. Those are not deliberate. You're not deliberately exposing yourself to
the soap we use. The soap we use.
Whatever. Yes.
Yeah. If I use soap with fragrance, I'm itchy all day. I mean, it's that simple for me.
Right.
If I put sugar in my body, I'm going to need to nap within about 20 to 90 minutes when my blood sugar starts to try to regain insulins and do all the things that my body tries to do. I exposed my body to a toxin. It was sugar, y'all.
Yeah.
It was sugar. Okay. Like, we are not trying to condemn the world out there and bring down the medical field.
Not at all.
But it is also in the medical field, and they are doing this to our children, and we can help it on our level.
Right. Yeah.
And bring awareness.
And I have many girlfriends who are teachers in the public school district, 2 of them which are preschool teachers. And they said they are seeing more and more coming into their classrooms, more than ever. And they've been teachers like 15, 20 years.
And things.
And more complicated cases.
Right.
Medically fragile cases. They're seeing more and more coming through. That's not better diagnosis.
No.
That's genes and genetics and getting flipped on and flipped off. And we have to figure out what the environmental factors are that are contributing to that, plain and simple.
Exactly.
I'm hesitating to say this, but I think I just have to.
Okay.
I mean, you're okay with it.
Of course I am.
Okay. And I'm not saying whether or not, that vaccines are 100% contributing to it or not contributing to it. But I will say that, when our parents were younger, I think they had like 3 to 5 vaccinations.
Right.
We had like 10 to 12.
Right.
Now it's 72.
Yes. In an infant before they leave the hospital.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're going to go there, let's go there.
Well, yes, they are vaccinating them. Yes.
It's nuts.
Yes.
It's
72 vaccines
different
before you're 18. 72 vaccines. 72.
I think it's like 25 before you leave the hospital. We need to fact check that. Put it in the comments. 100%. Go ahead, do it. Do the research. I'm challenging you to do that.
Yeah.
An infant, a fragile baby infant.
Yeah.
You don't even take them outside for the first week of their life because you're scared to bring them into the environment of people. They may get a toxin in their body, but you're literally putting it and allowing it in their bodies before they leave the hospital. Am I guilty? 100%. Yes. I'm guilty.
Yes.
I knew better back then. There weren't studies that RFK they weren't out yet. No. And I'm so blessed to see them come out right now, which is why this excites me, because I have a neurotypical child that was being called lazy and being called slow. But I was seeing something that lined up with an injury when he was 5 years old, went to the doctor, got his normal 5-year-old, things.
Right.
And next thing you know, he can't use his leg for 3 days straight. Right. Doctor's on the phone with me for 3 nights in the middle of the night, every 3 hours, asking how he was doing. Finally, that goes away. We think everything's fine. 10 years later, his body's getting bigger. His body's growing. It's getting heavier. It's harder to carry. And his legs aren't working the same. And I know it as a mother because I didn't know my child's not lazy. And I know my child's not driven and all the stuff the world's trying to put on my child. I know something environmentally is going on with my child, whether it was overstimulating. I was looking at the calves. I was off a little bit, but I did find the solution, which was 3 of his major glute muscles in one glute were not firing, and 2 in the other from an injury that happened when he was 5 during his routine checkup at the doctor. Right. So, and that's okay. I can say it. I love the doctor. I still go to that doctor. Okay. Right. This is something that I chose to do. And, there are risks behind it. But sometimes they get bypassed. So we worked on that. He went to physical therapy. We got his glute muscles working. And now he's the fastest on the team. That's huge. Now, not only is he fast, because who cares about the athletic ability, right? He's confident. He's not being told he's lazy anymore, even though he's trying his absolute hardest, but his legs just aren't moving.
If your body is stopping you from accessing the world the way that you were meant to, that God intended you to.
Yes.
It is very challenging and disheartening. And there's a lot of mental trauma that goes on with non-speaking individuals that we've really kind of tapped into and been able to find out about, because they can communicate now using letterboards and keyboards. And so
we'll get into that on it. I think that's a good podcast to get into.
Yeah. So
it'll be a heavy one,
entrapment that they feel is disheartening. And I really do think that's what RFK was trying to talk about. It does break your heart as a mother or a father. Yeah. It is hard to manage as the individual going through it with autism. You know, real quick, and then we can end it here or whatever you want to do. But I have a good friend. I won't give you her name because I didn't ask if I could even say this, but I have a good friend, and she's considerably older than me, and she has an autistic daughter who's probably closer to my age than the mother. And she was saying, you know, back in 1997, they were fighting. These moms were fighting because they were seeing that there were definite environmental factors. And she said by 2007, there should have been no more toxic damage done to these children, but they just kept on going. And I'll ask her if I can give a little more detail to that. But 1997, moms were fighting. Families were fighting. There was awareness around the topic on a governmental level, and it was just hushed and just keep doing the same thing. Business as usual. Business as usual.
Well, it's money. It's all surrounded by money. And these are our children. They're fragile.
Right.
And just to leave that perspective, it's 1 in 20 boys are going to be diagnosed with autism. And so if we just look around our circle of friends, everybody, you know, we're grandparent age right now. Yeah. Believe it or not. Crazy. But, you know, that means that we could look down and see 20 of our kids' friends right now. Like we could just look and see that. That means one of them may have, I mean, it's statistically that one of them, you know, so if we could just start to bring that little bit of awareness to just understand the mitochondrial, to go back, watch those prior videos that we put out and educate yourself on just how to strengthen the body from the inside.
Yes, from the inside out.
Let the government work on, you know, let RFK work on helping us on the outside.
On a medical level.
Yes. They know what they're doing, people. We cannot have a speaking autistic woman on the news saying that we don't, you know, we need to focus on helping these people. How about we need to focus on getting our non-speaking individuals to be more like you? How do we do that? We do that by not exposing them to things, right? And maybe they'll never be like that. It doesn't matter, because we're going to tap into their brilliance anyways, because they are intellectual, they are brilliant, completely competent, and with a stimming body or not, which we've discussed, could be biting your nails as an executive, okay? And that's disgusting too, by the way. You know, like neurotypical person over there biting their nails.
A phrase you keep saying.
And that's it. You know, who, what, me?
100%.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Right. I'm like, who, me? What? I don't bite my nails anymore. I put but yeah, so that's kind of where we'll leave it today is, you know, I challenge everybody to do a little bit more research if you have an autistic child. Be a little bit more open to what RFK had to say on the larger spectrum of things. Yeah. So that his message doesn't get dismissed. And, you know, really look into some of the things that you are using in your home and maybe eliminate one thing that is really toxic. Right. Just one thing.
I think a true statement we can say is that the United States of America is probably the richest country in one of the richest countries in the world. We have a lot of convenience, and we are the sickest country in the world.
That's right.
And that's what we're talking about here,
Yeah.
is improving your health, your child's health, and not getting hung up on a few words or sentences that a political figure said. Look at the body of the statement. What was his intention? And
Right.
if you can't get down with it and you don't agree, hey, that's on you.
Okay.
That's
It's
fine.
totally fine.
That's okay. But we are going to still share the truth that these individuals, these families, these people, these American citizens are chronically sick.
Yeah.
And we got to figure out why.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So until next time, everybody, God bless.
God bless.
See you later.
Bye.